final paper, final abstract, which will be presented by none other than Dr. Vasana Indriyarachi. That is about classification of patients with mild depression and healthy controls using nodal brain network topology. Dr. Vasana, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Classification of patients with mild depression and healthy controls using nodal brain network topology. The presentation is composed of 4 components. One is the introduction, methodology, results, and conclusion. Introduction. According to American Psychiatric Association, the depression is a common and a serious medical illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act. This condition leads to variety of emotional and physical problems. Here you can see the depression symptoms can be vary from mild, moderate to severe. The most common symptoms are feeling sad, or sometimes you call having a depressed mood, and also changes in an appetite. This can be increased or loss of appetite, and then sometimes the loss of interest or pleasure, troubles in sleeping, and also increased fatigue and feeling worthless or guilty. These are the common symptoms. And also the most actually worst case scenario is that suicidal thoughts. Actually, the fortunate this condition can be treatable or cured, but only thing we have to identify this very accurately. Therefore, accurate diagnosis is very important. Okay, there is no physical test or technical lab test which can diagnose the condition with certainty, and therefore the diagnosis of depression is completely based on specific guidelines or criteria. Currently, this mental health examination is carried out by qualified psychiatrists in accordance with the 5th Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and actually using guidelines of International Classification of Diseases. Therefore, actually here we have to mention that this evaluation criteria is totally based on subjective manner. So therefore, misdiagnosis is very higher. Therefore, we should have a method to identify, or we should have a method to proper diagnosis. So that's what actually we are targeting in this research. So the machine learning based artificial intelligence play a key role in developing biomarkers to provide clinicians with predictable model for diagnosis, treatment, and also for follow-ups. If you are interested, you can use structural, functional, diffusion, or perfusion information to do this diagnosis, right? As an example, I can say you that here I have used a training computer. If you have the information of patients and healthy subjects, we can feed this information. If you are interested in functional, we can feed this functional information to the computer, and thereafter we use the same computer to testing purpose. Means that if we have any unknown information of patient with, we don't have an idea about whether this patient is patient or healthy subject, we can use this technique or artificial intelligence to for this testing purpose, right? Right. There are compelling evidence that altered functional connectivity has been well reported for depression, especially in the default mode network. There is a larger connectivity reduction in depression. So we can use this the functional connectivity reductions to develop topological metrics. Means that those are highly related to functional. The connectivities between the regional functional connectivity between 2 or some other more than that of regions, right? So here actually we are using this topological matrix developed based on functional connectivity to develop biomarkers. This biomarker development based on topological measures are very rare. So I think that is the novelty of our study. And we can use either global level, modular level, or nodal level information for this purpose. Therefore, the objective of our study is to test the potential use of nodal brain network topology, developing neuroimaging biomarkers for depression, but and also with using the machine learning. Right. Let's have a look at the methodology. The data were collected from publicly available database called Open Neuro. This is well established database. It is freely available. We found we downloaded 51 patients with mild depression, and also 21 healthy controls were included in the study. And then these patients actually have been scanned using 3 Tesla scanner. And actually, this process is called functional MRI, and specifically, it is called resting fMRI. It means that we are instructing the patient to lie down in the scanner, but we instruct them to not to think anything particularly, but they have to stay in the scanner, within the scanner. Actually, in this study, they have used the closed eyes method, because when they open the eyes, then what happens? The auditory cortex are also activated. So we need the resting. The situation of the resting state of the brain. So, and then actually what we do is we collect 180 volumes of the same patient, means that usually we produce only one brain, but here in functional MRI, we are making a series of volumes, and these volumes are very useful to produce the functional connectivity. I will come to that point later. After that, we actually, after collection of this, the number of volumes, and it undergoes slice timing, realignment, normalization, regression. We have to remove some unwanted signals, and filtering means actually we are removing low frequency signals, and then detain. These are well established 6 pre-processing steps. And this is actually most important part here. What we do here is, before we construct functional connectivity matrices, we have to divide the brain into different regions. For this purpose, we are using Atlas. It's composed of 90 regions. We call AAL Atlas. And then for each corresponding region, we extract the time courses. Time courses means if you have a series of volumes like this, if you pay attention to one particular region, we have the same region in all volumes. It means we can get the signal information from each volumes, means finally we can produce a nice signal. It's like a signal. Okay. Using these regional signals, we can compute statistical dependency between these 2 regions. Means that finally we can get R value. We call it Pearson correlation values in between these 2 regions. It means in between these 2 regions have a functional connectivity. That's what we are doing. So finally we get functional connectivity matrix, and then it has to undergo a conversion of binary matrix, and then finally we come to the topological matrix, which is developed by binary matrix. Using these features, actually I have given here this between a centrality, degree centrality, nodal clustering coefficient, nodal efficiency, nodal local efficiency, nodal shortest path. These are the well established the functional connectivity topological metrics. Okay. Now actually we can use this feature information from each node, the information developed from each node of this brain to train a model. We call it multivariate pattern analysis, right? We can use the Kridna software for this purpose. Okay, we have come to the results. Just have a look results. This is really interesting. If you compare this patients and healthy cursor, you can see the inpatient at one particular square of this matrix corresponding to one connection. If we have 90 regions, means we can develop 90 by 90 matrix. Means one, if you carefully look at these squares, you can see there is a definite the difference between these two types of patients, right? Means that we can use this information for the classification. When we do the classification, you can see here that the highest classification has come to nodal clustering coefficient, nodal efficiency, and also for nodal local efficiency. And then finally, what we have done is tactically we have combined these features together, and we have tested. That is actually it's a trend in neuroimaging community. They are trying to incorporate different information together, and we are testing whether we can use this different information to develop better biomarkers. So finally, we have got 85.29. The classification accuracy is the highest. So These are our results. And also, not only that, we have tested it is statistically. We have done this classification 1,000 times. 1,000 times. It is highly computational. It takes longer time actually. But anyway, we have done, even in future, it is statistically significant. You can see using this permutation graphs. And final conclusion is that nodal level brain network topology can be used to classify patients and mild depression and healthy patients with mild depression and healthy controls using machine learning. Further, when combining these metrics together, we observe improved classification accuracy, indicating the fusion of different network measures may serve as a better neuroimaging marker for disease classification. These are our references, and I would like to thank, actually this is coming from China, actually I was there, and I would like to thank my professor, especially who is the person who guided me to this kind of study, my PhD professor. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vasana. It was a very, very high standard presentation. So, over to judges for any clarifications.
Excellent presentation, Vasana. But my question is, now we know depression is not a static situation.
Yeah.
Depending on the time of the day or the mood or whether they took the medicines or not, it can vary. But so when you are trying to make a diagnosis from a image taken at a single time point.
Yeah.
So has that been factored in? Is that an issue when you so there can be so much of with the mood changes, with the how the depressive feeling, the brain functional signal also might be changing.
Yeah.
So just because you took image at some time point and then you trying to compare it with your biomarkers, whether they are present or not, is that an accurate way of diagnosing a depressive episode then?
Yeah, first, so actually, depending, I mean, it relates to, that we can, if we want, we can get the people who are having the mild depression, if we want. And also we can get moderate. Also we can get the severe. First, we have to categorize all those people. And your question actually, apart from that, actually, you asked whether when they are staying in scanner, when they are lie down in scanner, sometimes we have to give the proper instruction. If they are dreaming, or sometimes if they are sleeping, or sometimes if they are open their eyes, the functional connectivity of the brain definitely changes. So we have to give proper instruction. First, we have to clarify that one from the psychiatrist, whether we have taken the best people for this purpose. And then second, we have to go for the best instruction, because at resting stage, only the default mode network is activating. Usually, in the scanner, our default mode network only should be activated. If any network is activated other than that, it will be detected for our software. So that is the case.
Vasana, can I ask a question now?
Okay, sir.
When these people are on treatment for depression, will that change your neuroimaging markers?
Yes, of course, sir. So that's why actually I haven't included that information. Even this mild depression patient, there were 4 categories. 4 different treatment has been taken. I mean, when we find this kind of functional connectivities, we have to categorize what kind of treatment has been taken by them. So that's very clear. Then we can get some clear idea of that. So, but only we should have large number of data, then only we can divide and get come to a conclusion. I think that's good, sir. That's a good question.
So I suppose, yeah, it's a very good study. I don't think any of this is done in Sri Lanka at the moment, isn't it? So
this study actually, madam, we collected from the database. The reason is actually nowadays we cannot apply this to UHKDU.
Yes.
In future, this is a baseline study. Yes. We tried whether we can do or not. Now, of course, we got some good comments from the reviewers.
Yes.
All those are 2 reviewers from the outsiders actually.
Yes.
So means the other countries. In future, as soon as possible, we will recruit the depression subject from our UHKDU. So then we are going to recruit, the required number of subjects
Yeah, and I suppose even for treatment follow-up also. there
Yeah,
should
yeah,
be
that's, yeah, of course we can do, but we should have a large number, we should have a better period, I mean. We have to take even after the treatment, the brain function is changed, whether these people are recovered or not, we can check.
Yeah.
So likewise, we can, definitely we can accept, but it's a big study, so we
Yes.
can, but we can do, no problem.
Okay, thank you.